I got the Cosy in bits again. I told you in a previous video that the customer has sent me a dry sump kit. So it's got a second-hand pump here from Turbo Sport, which is very good pump indeed, used those before, and we've also got a brand new sump pan. So the sump pan is minus where you would put the oil. So basically all this pan does is just drain the oil back through 2 outlets and goes back to the reservoir tank or to the pump, which goes to the tank. So the reason I got the belt off, guys, is because you can see the pulley that drives the pump goes onto the front of the auxiliary shaft. You can see there where it sits over the key, but if we put it on the existing, the front of the existing shaft there, which sits flush against the existing pulley, you can see how out of line that is. It's probably about 4 mil. I haven't measured it exactly yet. So what I have to do is obviously take the belt off. I'm going to have to retime it all afterwards, annoyingly. And what I'm going to do is machine out the centre to that diameter of this pump, this pulley, just so this can sit back far enough, enough so it can sit over the end of the shaft, locate on the keyway, and get us dead in line with that, guys. So I've had to take the belt off. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to measure exactly by putting a straight edge across the front of that pulley, across to the other pulley, and measure the distance there. And then I know how much to bore out that on the lathe. So let's see how much out it is. Right, guys, I've measured the distance and it is 5 millimeters, which, if you have a look there, you've got a little line, and from that line to the back of that pulley, is pretty much 5 millimeters. So we need to be boring the front of this pulley out, so it sits in as far as that line, pretty much, and then we should be pretty much in line. So the diameter of that, if I measure it, is 39.2. So I shall bore that out, probably 39.5. and that'll give us a little bit of clearance. Should be absolutely pucker. Right then, guys, you can see I've fitted that pulley now, machined it out, 39.5 in the centre, 5 mil deep, and what that does is give us a bit of the keyway down here to locate the front of that pulley on. So I'll put the belt on the pulley, and what I'm going to do is slide the belt so it locates onto the pulley of the pump. Try and do this one hand is not entirely easy. There we go, located onto the pulley. That's pushed right back now, and you can see where the belt sits. So what I'm going to do is just turn that pulley a few turns there, just so it straightens up the belt, and we can see where it's going to drive. And you can see it's running pretty much right to the back of that front pulley, which is absolutely ideal. Stops it from wandering. We shall do that up now. The tension looks pretty good. That's fairly tight there, but not too tight that it's going to knacker the pump up. So there's not really much play there. But if you give it a turn, yeah, absolutely perfect that is. So what we're going to do now, guys, just do that nut up at the front, put the belt on, recheck the timing, and job's a good one. We've had another engine come in, guys. Check this out. If you're a Cosy fan on here, you won't mind if I get a little bit excited about this one. So this is a Cosworth. Yes, we've all seen the Cosworths in here many a times, all in bits. There is another crankshaft in the wash, which is a standard crank, immaculate, so it doesn't need grinding. What that crank is yet, I don't know. But the bit to get excited about, guys, if you are a Cosy fan, is this is a genuine RS500 Sierra block and an RS500 cylinder head. And we all know how rare and expensive these bits are now, guys. Don't usually see the RS500s, to be honest. I think I've done probably half a dozen in the past, back when they were a bit cheaper, mind. These days, the RS500s, the only ones you ever see are up around 100 grand with low miles. I mean, where all these low mile cars are coming from, I do not know, but bear in mind, back in the day, when these were about 10 or 12 grand, that was probably the cheapest they got, but none of them were that lower a mile, so I'm not sure where they've all sprung from, but there we go. But yeah, we have got a genuine RS500 cylinder head and block, guys, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I know today of the difference between these and the normal 205 blocks and even the 200 blocks. So first of all, what most people who know anything about these RS500 blocks, it's a 205 block. So this is where it gets confusing. It's a 205, the same as the Sierras, but it's not the same as the Sierra. It's a thicker walled again than the 200, which was the four-wheel drive Sierra and Escort blocks. But this is a 205 block, and as many of you will know, this is a small core plug, whereas the Sierra 205 blocks were a big core plug. So that's the first bit of identification that you need to know. Second is the number down here. So this is the RS500 number, and I believe that casting number there is what the road cars had, because they also did obviously blocks that were sort of blanks really that you could buy separate. Also above the water pump housing here is the YBD number. This is 0094, so that shows me that it is a road car. So what are the differences, guys, apart from those on the exterior? So here you can see the cast liner on number 1 inside the water housing, and you can see it's got a bit of a slight step here, but also, I don't know whether you can see, but the liner does taper down towards the base on the 500. It's a lot thicker down the base, and the liner is just thicker in general, I do believe. But yeah, apart from that, guys, these things are just getting very, very rare. Cylinder head over here. So you've got the V86 HF 8090 AA number. So that's a genuine 500 number there. Also, a way to tell whether this is a 500 is on the inlet. You can see where it's had some titivating. Basically, it's been blended to the inlet manifold, and the 500s are dowelled as standard. So that's got the dowels there. So yeah, that is a 500 head. Now, I have actually had a quick look on eBay, and someone is selling a 500 cylinder head, which is an original old stock new casting, so pretty much like that really. And you are looking at just under £6,000 for a cylinder head like that. Same with the block. Found one of those, someone's selling one on eBay. What the bore size is, I haven't had a look, but they want £5,800 for that. So for these two here, guys, you are looking at 12,000 quid just for the castings, which is absolutely ludicrous. Probably 10 or 15 years ago, you could have got a whole car for that. This block here is on a standard bore, which is magic, and the bores look perfect. So I'm not even sure, as I say, I'll have to run through my emails again from James, the guy that sent this down to me, but that looks like a brand new block, which is wonderful. We've got various bits here. So we've got the thermostat housing, new oil pump, various bits from Burton, etc. Got a drawer full of new bits down here, which is great, and a set of com rods which look pretty good to me, but we'll obviously have to do our usual on that. And I do believe that he's going to be sending down more stuff, but we have got to build this motor up, guys. So first RS500 motor I've had for, I would say, probably about 6 years. The last one I had was actually a concourse car, which I did the engine for, and the guy sold it very shortly after I did the engine. It was a beautiful engine. We did all the plating and lovely. As I say, it was a concourse winning car, and the guy actually was selling that for about 30,000 quid, which back then, bear in mind, I'd just paid 17 for my Escort Cosworth, which was also pretty concourse. So 30 grand was quite a lot of money, but in comparison to today's prices, it was cheap as chips, really. So yeah, very excited about doing this 500. So guys, next thing we're going to be stripping here, obviously the Jag is over there, that is all pretty much done. This is one of the M3s for Andy. So what I'm going to be doing is stripping this motor, because we know this was in the car running at some point. Obviously it's looking a bit grotty now, but it's a good engine. We know that crank's good and the cylinder head's good and all that. So I'm going to be stripping that, getting all the bits cleaned up, get it in bits, and then I'm going to get the other engine, which is out here, the far engine, the one at the back, because that was his original engine, which the crank went in. I want to get the crank out there and I want to check that out. That's the first thing I want to do with that motor. Then I'll have two engines in bits. We can get all the bits cleaned up because, you know, we're going to be doing a deal on this, really. So he wants an engine that's all built with pistons, rods, camshafts, etc., in exchange with the two, maybe some deal going on with the two other engines we got, both B32s, and all the stuff upstairs, which is all the running gear, like the manifolds, the Vanos units, the whole lot, alternators, all the bracketry. So yeah, we all know now that these are E36 S50 B32s are worth a few quid, especially with all the stuff on there. So yeah, first of all, let's see what state that crankshaft's in. One of my jobs today is this one. This is the Ingenium engine for a customer of ours. Now, these Ingenium engines, this is obviously the block on the boring bar. This is the crankshaft, which is looking rather nasty. So these Ingenium engines are next to impossible to get, apparently. The car is worth over 30,000 quid, apparently again. But it's had a complete catastrophe, this thing. Now look how hot these big ends have got. Looks like they've been cooked in a bloody fire or stuck on a barbecue. It has marked the bores, so you can't use them anymore. So we have found a new crankshaft, we've found new rods, pistons, all the bits. Actually not too badly priced, considering how sort of, I wouldn't say rare this engine is, but just hard to get new stuff for. But the block we cannot get, so we are going to be sticking liners in this. Now this is an aluminium block and it's got cast liners in it already. Now my first point of call with putting liners in a block is I need to find a liner. So I use Westwood liners. Now, so we revert to our Westwood liners chart here. So these are most of the liners they got in stock that we used to sort of go by an off-the-shelf liner if you can. The good thing about an off-the-shelf liner is, one, they only take a day or two to get here, whereas opposed to if you had to have one made, you'd be looking at the minute probably 5 or 6 weeks, which a lot of people haven't got that sort of time. So the only thing is we're limited on the flange liners here. So where you can see the flange dimensions here, so all the ones with the flange dimensions are obviously the ones with the flange liners. So what we do, first of all, you've got the inside diameter, outside overall length. They've got it in millimetres and inches. So what I do is have a look for one where you've got the inside diameter that you need to end up at. So we need to end up at 83 mil. What they do with Westwood, they tend to leave pretty much just over 0.5 mil in. So we can either go smaller or not much over. So 83, anything, they're obviously in order of size here. So we're looking from here backwards. So that's the first thing I look at, the inside diameter. So we've got 83 mil here, and then we want to find the first flange one backwards. So go by that, we've got 82.55. So obviously there'd be, with the 0.5 mil they leave in anyway, you're probably looking a millimetre to take out of that. Then we need one the right length. The length we need at the minute is 6.2 inches, so obviously that one's not long enough. This one here is. Obviously what I'll have to do is put it in the lathe and modify the bottom to the right length, which is fine. That's the opposite side to the flange. And then we need to have a look at the flange, make sure that the flange is not going to be too big. So that's 3.5 inch flange. The outside is 3.377, which is 85.7, which leaves us 2.77, nearly 3 mil in the bore. So that's about 1.5 mil per side, which is absolutely fine. Don't really want to go any less than 1 millimetre on the wall thickness of them. 2 mil is ideal, but yeah, that's really the only one we can go. The next one down you see is not quite long enough. So I'm going to go for this, which is an L1363, check availability. If they got them in stock, I shall continue to bore for that. So there we go, guys, we're on the last one now, just about to do the final flange. You can see there where that is going to end up. So really, by the time those liners are in, going by the original gasket line, it looks like the gasket is still going to be sealing on the outside of the block, which is absolutely ideal. So I've got those liners on order, guys. I'm just about to finish the fourth flange groove, and then this block can sit and wait for the liners to turn up. I've left about 1/4 thou in, so I'm just going to, once the liners arrive, check the outside diameter with a micrometer. They're usually bang on, to be honest, but I never take anything for granted. And then what I can do is just hone these bores to get the right interference. Being aluminium block, we tend to give them a little bit more interference, because when you heat these blocks, they do swell up quite a lot, and the liner tends to be able to almost drop in. So yeah, happy days, guys. Well, everyone, thank you very much for watching today's video. Sorry, that is all we got time for today, but until Friday's video, have a great couple of days. Take care, guys.